The following program is sponsored by Mrtxre Real Estate.
Hey everyone, this is Robert with Mrtxre Real Estate and the Texas Real Estate Mastermind. Hey, before we get started, always make sure you're going to give me a little thumbs up. Make sure you like it and subscribe it. We appreciate that. It does help the algorithm. We are trying to break 1,000 here, so we could certainly use your help. Again, we'd appreciate it if you did. All right, so what we're going to talk about today is this, the landlord unicorn, right? Whether it's commercial or residential or industrial, the cash flow and equity. I was on the phone yesterday with a friend of mine. He also does some investing with us. And he's like, Robert, I was at your website. I'm like, oh, cool. What'd you think? He's like, it was great. You can go check it out too. It's Mrtxre.com. Mrtxre.com. He said, I loved it. And he's like, I'm watching some of the testimonials, and I know I've talked to other people in your mastermind, and they're talking about the millions of dollars they've made. I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, how come I haven't made $1 million with you? I'm like, well, those folks are mainly active, and you told me years ago that you just wanted to be passive. And he's like, he's like, so what are they doing? I was like, well, they're doing all the heavy lifting. He's like, well, I'd like cash flow and I'd like to get some equity. So how am I a millionaire and producing? I was like, well, that's the magic that we teach in our mastermind. That takes time. And the people that you're talking about in our mastermind have been in for 3 years and 4 years, even 5 years. They're at the point now where they've got, $2.1, $2.3 million in equity, and they're producing cash. And so, they've hit it. But the thing that we talked about with my friend many years ago was it's going to take time, right? So let's kind of break this down a little bit more. Very few deals are going to provide equity from day one and cash flow. Very, very few real estate deals. And again, the deals that we do are single family 1 to 4 small apartments, right? Especially with the interest rates the way they are. You have to be a very active real estate investor. So how do you get cash flow and equity? You have to be an active real estate investor. You have to find deals that you're going to have a really, really good price on, right? You're going to buy them deep. You're going to have to manage that construction yourself, and you're going to come out of that through what we call big game hunting. Be able to put that money on that property on the market and start collecting high rents, right? So those of you that are with us and that are active, and those of you watching that are active and out there finding these deals, yes, you have a very good chance of creating 20% equity, right, and cash flow once the property is done. Now, you still have to carry it, and you have to deal with all the struggles while it takes you to get through renovation and stabilization. But those people that are finding cash flow and equity are typically very active real estate investors. We get a lot of times people come to us and it's like, hey, I want both. And I'm like, okay, well, how many hours a week are you willing to put into this? Well, I work a full-time job. Okay, so in that scenario, probably not going to happen. A much, much lesser chance to happen than someone like myself who works in real estate every single day, runs construction crews, right? Commercial loans, all that stuff we got to do to get this stuff rolling. And even then, there's no guarantee, right? 23 for us was a horrible year. So you have to be active. That's the bottom line. And so, well, what if I want to be slightly active? Okay, then now you got to pick one. And this is that sort of myth. And, salespeople will tell you one thing, but the reality is something completely different. If it's you getting a property with equity and trying to get cash flow, yeah, that's tough. Now, I know a lot of people out there that will do turnkey rentals, and I don't like any of their numbers. I don't believe them. There's, never believe a developer, right? That's one of those things. And so I see a lot of turnkey properties that do a lot of promising. And then when I talk to people who actually invested in them, it didn't live up to what the sales expectation is. So you've got to go do the deal yourself, right? And that's okay if you have the time, right? It's even easier if you join a mastermind. But if you don't, then pick one. Robert, I want cash flow. Okay, we can get you cash flow. Robert, I want equity, and I'll wait 3 years for cash flow. Great, we can do that. Now, my friend chose cash flow from the beginning and no equity. And he wants to be passive and not active, right? Many, many times, I just want to give someone the money and I just want a check coming back. I'm like, okay, those are notes. He's like, yeah, but notes don't pay enough. I want that 15, 18, 20% return. I'm like, that's known as high risk. He's like, yeah, but I hear other people doing it. I'm like, I get it, but it's high risk. So most of the folks in the mastermind will go for equity. Right. So that's where someone gets on YouTube or comes into our studio and does a testimonial and says, yeah, I'm worth $2 million more than I was before I met Robert and Jason, before I joined the Texas Real Estate Mastermind. Great. How many years have you been doing it? 4 years. Cash flow there now? It's there now. Got it. Someone comes in, and spends 4 years with us on the cash flow. They're not going to have made the equity portion of it, right? Because most of it's just notes. So there's no equity there. Now, you can play games. You can do equity participation notes. You can just invest for equity. There's a whole bunch of ways to skin that cat. But again, unless you're going to go out there, find the deal, work the deal, refi the deal, it's really, really hard to have both sides of that coin. And so we ask people, pick one. Which one do you want? It's like, yeah, I'm going to go for the appreciation or the wealth. And that's a good one because cash flow will have interruptions. Right? Far more often and far more likelihood than your appreciation stop growing. We talked about it all through our podcast. 2023, we saw our taxes almost double. Insurance for sure doubled on some of our properties. The mud bills went up, right? So cash flow was absolutely impacted in 2023 to the point where it hurt us. So that happens. However, all through 2023, we picked up at least 7% on our properties, right? So we're holding $30 million, $2.1 million in appreciation last year. But cash flow was damn near non-existent. So pick one. And again, active or passive. If you're active and you're doing what we call big game hunting, finding a distressed property, and you're going out and you're renovating it, and then you're going to rent it, and then you're going to refi it. And if you bought it really deep, yeah, you've got a real good chance from year one to be able to have equity and cash flow. That's what we teach in our mastermind. If you want to know more about our mastermind, you could just go ahead and text us at 281-401-9008, 281-401-9008, and text the word mastermind. We're still running a 50% off special, so make sure you go ahead and click that. But again, you have to pick what you want. So we were in LA this weekend. It was a great time. It was a little overcast, but it wasn't 20 degrees, that's for sure. It was pretty pleasant. We did sushi twice, which was crazy. And we ran across a guy out there who's pretty successful, right? He's got a good real estate team. He's got a construction company. He's doing his own, the big game hunting stuff. He's joined our mastermind. He's bought a small apartment with us. We sold it to him at a 10 cap, right? It's just a great, great deal. So, we were able to, sit down and go over at dinner. And he said this, he said, we have to be prepared for the suffering through year one and year two. And I said, yeah, I call that stabilization. Right. And he said, the problem is most people just won't go through that first hurdle. Because real estate offers so many options to make money. There's so many ways to make money in real estate. Most people simply won't pick one. And that's the and. So every time you go to RIA, someone stands up and says, hey, my name is Rob, and I do land development and small apartments, and I do some fixes, and I do some wholesaling, and my wife is an insurance agent, and we sell annuities. And it's like, whoa, that's a lot of things to do. Like, just pick one and become an expert in that field, right? And for us, we've become landlords, 1 to 4 units, buy and hold. Do we do small apartments? Yeah, of course. Right? Do we do self-storage? Yeah, we looked at one, right? Got one on our belt. But self-storage, everything we do? No, we're not going to do that. Would I even tell people I do self-storage? Absolutely not. Have we looked at land up ground up development and buying raw land. Yeah, we looked at that. Would I tell anyone that I do ground up? Absolutely not. You know what I do every single day? 1 to 4 units, day in, day out. Buy them cheap, renovate them, rent it, refi them, put them into long-term financing, let my wealth go up, and eventually the cash flow will catch up. So lots of ways to make money in real estate. Lots and lots and lots of ways. I think the one that is the best for the semi-active person is being a landlord. You know, we're doing a 2-day event here coming up, but just check the link below. And we'll have people from making 200, 300, 400. We've got people in our mastermind who make over $500,000 a year on a W-2 salary. They're worth tens of millions of dollars, and they're all over the place. I was thinking about doing some more Airbnbs. Hey, I was thinking about looking at Indiana, getting some cheap rentals. Hey, I did the Memphis thing. That didn't work. I'm doing this thing now. Hey, I'm thinking about getting some boat docks and maybe I'm like, whoa, guy. How much time do you have? Well, I don't have a lot of time. I work really hard. I run my own company. Got it. Understood. So let's just pick one. Let's just pick some buy and hold and get going. And that's what we do. So if you want to know more about the mastermind, 281-401-9008. Text the word mastermind. We'd love to talk to you. Again, just remember that cash flow and equity is a rare breed. It's hard to find that unless you're going to be pretty close to full-time active real estate investor, right? The person who's semi-active or passive, very, very, very hard to find, even though a lot of sales guys will tell you that. All right, thanks. Robert here, Texas Real Estate Mastermind. Check us out, like, subscribe, and we'll see you at the next event.